The Carolina Panthers go on the road into an undefeated home environment in Green Bay, Wisconsin, and pull off a sloppy yet decisive win against the 5-1-1 Green Bay Packers. This is the signature win that Dave Canales has been wanting and this fan base has been wanting. Now, it wasn't pretty, and it came down to the last second where Ryan Fitzgerald kicked it in from 49 in a very, very windy day. The Panthers were 13.5-point underdogs in this game, which is completely ridiculous. They came into it at 4-4, and the league knows that Carolina plays teams tough. Why in the world were they multiple score underdogs? And somehow, someway, the Carolina Panthers go into Lambeau and prove Vegas and the league wrong. So let's get into why the Panthers won this football game, and let's review some of the keys that I gave earlier this week. Now, I want to preface beforehand that I wasn't able to fully watch this game live initially. I only got the fourth quarter live, but I went back, watched condensed, watched the full version as well. So if I miss anything, it is what it is. But let's start with Rico Dowdle. He finally comes in, and as Dave Canales said in his press conference earlier this week, Rico Dowdle was not going to be ignored. The coaching staff finally gives him the start, and oh my, did he exceed any expectation that I had going into this game against one of the top rush defenses in the NFL. 25 carries, 130 yards, and 2 touchdowns on the ground. He also caught 2 balls for 11 yards, I believe, in the air. This is just exactly what I called for in the preview for this game. I called for, I believe it was 20 plus carries and 125 plus yards. Hits it perfectly. 1 for 1 on goals so far. What a day for Rico Dowdle. And at this point, Rico is just clearly the better back. For Chuba, right now, you're going to have limited carries for probably the rest of the season. Maybe not next game. Rico did fight through a lot of bumps and bruises throughout this game. He looked like he was dealing with a groin during essentially the entire game. But to come into a hostile environment like Green Bay and just completely effort your way through a game like he did and put up 5.2 yards per carry and just wonderful aggressiveness and play after contact, it's just more than anybody could have expected. As of right now, Rico Dowdle really is the heart and soul of this offense, if not this football team. And that type of soul is the type of thing you need to break down a really good rush defense like we believe these Green Bay Packers were. Now, again, I want to preface that I am kind of worried about Rico's availability going into next week, as he was on the sideline multiple times during this game, getting worked out by the trainers. And 25 carries is still 25 carries in the NFL. That is a lot of wear and tear on a guy who does not have the best injury track record, especially earlier in his career. But if it works out, it works out, and this also gives more time for Chuba to heal if he does want to get back to his high level of play. But you cannot talk about Rico Dowdle without moving on to this offensive line. They were on their 7th offensive line starting combination of the season in 9 games. And oh my goodness, did they exceed any expectation I had going into this one. Starting on the ground, this team had over 160 rushing yards. That was by far the most that Green Bay has given up this season. Now, the starting group for this game didn't even play the full game. Damian Lewis missed some time early. Chandler Zavala ends up coming out in the middle of this game and doesn't return. I believe it was an elbow. But Jake Curhan steps in at both guard spots and gives replacement level play where it is needed. This group just found a way to give their football team a chance by letting Rico Dowdle run the ball with aggressiveness, give him holes to where he can gash this defense, create big plays, and move this offense down the field. Now, another thing that I want to mention is that Taylor Moton was actually active for this game. He did not start, as he served really as an emergency option if there was another injury. So, you know, Josh Nyman returns to Green Bay. Chandler Zavala on the right side. Centers back to Austin Corbett. How did this group make this work, especially after Zavala went down? And it's just a crazy good performance that I have to give up to partially the coaching staff, and another thing by just this group just loving to play with each other. Now, the running game wasn't even the best part of this offensive line performance. When you're going against players like Rashawn Gary, Micah Parsons, Quay Walker, and all the people across the Packers defensive line, you expect to give up sacks. They gave up sacks to none of them. They only gave up 1 sack in this game, and that was on a blitz where it was actually Jatavian Sanders working one-on-one against Xavier McKinney, I believe. So that sack it was a strip sack that came on a blitz. Micah Parsons had 0 pressures. That is the first time in his career that he has ever had 0 pressures in a game. And this offensive line did what they needed to do to complete one of the game goals that I had for this one, and that was allow less than 3 sacks. They only allowed 1. What a performance. That's 2 for 2 so far. And it's so easy to expect a group that is inexperienced with each other. You don't have your same starting group out there week in, week out to just get bullied by these really high-level players. But what it takes is your guys that are cornerstones of your franchises stepping up. And that is what Ike Ekwonu did in this game. He allowed 0 pressures in 9 solo attempts against Micah Parsons in this game. Ike Ekwonu is finally showing his full potential at this point of his career, and I think this game might have single-handedly earned him that extension if he hadn't already earned it before. And now we can probably allow this offensive line to heal a little bit. Maybe we get Cade Mays back next week. We should have Taylor Moton back next week. We'll have to see on the availability of Zavala. Maybe Corbett moves to right guard. But if this group could continue to just make things happen and defy the odds and do this against good pass rushes, I mean, why not? And just trust your guys. Just trust your guys, man. Sky's the limit for this team if the offensive line can play like this when they're this banged up. We've said enough about the offense at this point, so let's move over to a defensive effort that I have seen nothing like before. The Green Bay Packers in this game got to the red zone 5 times, right? And they were 1 for 5 in red zone possessions. That means only 1 touchdown in 5 red zone possessions. 1 fumble forced by Christian Roseboom, who had a phenomenal day. This was really a legacy game for Christian Roseboom. There was a turnover on downs on what should have been a Mike Jackson pick for a big return where he dropped it in the end zone. But that play was set up by Trayvon Merrick, absolutely stuffing a screen on 3rd and 3 for a loss of 4. Trayvon Merrick had a great day. He had multiple tackles for loss. He did have an interception as well on a ball that Jordan Love just threw into triple coverage. I mean, the Panthers took bend but not break it to the absolute max in this game. Pressure wasn't there all day as it normally is. Turk Wharton did have a sack at one point where Jordan Love was rolling to his right into the arms of Turk Wharton. Great to see him getting some sack production, but still, the sack production is not where you want to see a team, especially now at the point where they're at, where you could potentially ask for a push to the playoffs. But for a Green Bay team that was near the top of the league when converting when they get into the red zone, to make them go that low of a rate in the red zone is just completely ridiculous. Now, alongside their almost 3 turnovers, Panthers also forced a missed field goal from more great defensive play, and that ended up being a big difference in the game. It was a very swirly and windy day in Green Bay, Wisconsin at Lambeau Field. So it's absolutely huge when your defense can step up on 2nd, 3rd down to push the field goal back as much as possible and force field goals to be really tough on these kickers. And I think it's Brandon McManus who was the kicker. I'm not sure exactly. Again, I did not watch this game firsthand until the 4th quarter. He was dealing with a quad, and he's missed some kicks recently, so it is what it is. Now, moving over to a little bit more specifics, let's go over to Jordan Love. And, Jordan Love is always going to get passing yards against you. Over 270 passing yards in this game, a couple deep balls. He was being a true gunslinger in this game, just, giving his guys chances, whether it ended up in triple coverage, double coverage, it ended up picks, drop picks, or it ended up in his guys' hands like it did for Christian Watson on a big 50-yard play. But Jordan Love completed 26 passes in this game for over 270 yards. No touchdowns, surprisingly, and of course, the interception. So on Jordan Love's 27th birthday, I think the Panthers squad did what they needed to do and completed yet another goal, and that was force an interception on Jordan Love. So now, with that goal complete, make that 3 for 3. Now, another thing, of course, I got to mention about this pass attack, and that is the injury to Tucker Kraft, which really did affect this game. Tucker Kraft, phenomenal player. I hate to see him go down in the way that he did. Just unfortunate. Nick Scorton setting the edge low. His own guy gets blocked back, or gets hit back into him, and it is feared to be a torn ACL. I'm not sure at this point if it's been confirmed, but you hate to see it for a young guy that is breaking out and putting up so many good games together. If you're a fan of the league, you love to see good players play. I just hate to see Tucker Kraft go down. But all things considered, the Panthers did their job in the Tucker Kraft department, held him under 50 receiving yards, make that 4 for 4 so far on the game goals. Now over to the Green Bay running game, and I'm surprised that Green Bay didn't run the football more. I will get into a little bit more why they weren't able to, but I'll leave that for later. But Josh Jacobs, still was able to pretty much do what he wanted to in the run game. He wasn't able to break off the big runs, but he was able to consistently get good runs. 5.1 yards per carry. And this Green Bay running game was able to get over 100 yards, but barely over 100 yards. So if you're fine with it, I'll give a half a point for the game goal that I set earlier this week, and that was keep Green Bay under 100 total rushing yards. And they really did their job, not allowing Green Bay to really control the time of possession in this game through the running game. Jacobs also had the only touchdown for Green Bay in this one. And it was the only touchdown for Green Bay for the next thing and final thing that I'm going to talk about, the final major thing that I want to talk about, and that is this coaching staff just completely managing this game in a phenomenal way. I believe only 14 total drives were had in this game, 7 for each team. That number normally hovers around 10 to 12 per team, if my research is correct. It's a hard number to find, but only 14 total possessions in this game. Time of possession was nearly even, but Greg Olsen said it early when the Panthers elected to receive when they won the coin toss, which they normally never do, and that is the best way to prevent an offense to score, a good offense to score, like we thought Green Bay was going to be, is to not allow them to have the football. And when you can force mistakes in the red zone and not allow scores in the red zone, the opportunities to really get away from your opponent just continuously just go slowly and more slowly down. And for Green Bay, 3 drives ended in essentially turnovers. 3 drives and field goals, only 2 of them were made, and only 1 was for a touchdown. What else do you cannot make mistakes in a game like this, and Green Bay made mistakes. Another thing Canales talked about in his presser is how he was talking with his coaching staff about where he wanted the direction to go late in this game. That's why he elected to receive in this one, so he could decide which way he wanted to drive. And that's especially important in a windy game like this. Fitzgerald ended up missing a PAT on one of Rico Dowdle's 2 touchdowns due to an unsportsmanlike penalty. For the Key and Peele skit, I say again, only 2 pumps. That shouldn't be a penalty. But he missed short and right on a kick inside 50 yards because of the wind in this one. And the coaching knowledge allows Ryan Fitzgerald to come back and kick with the wind instead of against it for a game-winning kick. And I also have to give them props for watching, for the coaching staff watching Fitzgerald miss that PAT and still trusting him to make a big kick to win this game. Another thing this coaching staff did well is ultimately they outcoached Green Bay by allowing Green Bay to at times beat themselves. The Panthers kept it simple while Green Bay tried to make things a little bit flashy. At times, Green Bay got a little bit too heavy in the screen game. The Panthers flowed well to it as this defense just flies to the ball at this point. Evero's doing a great job to get guys to fight for him. And when you do that and you can't get big plays when you're that screen heavy, ultimately you're going to lose possessions because of it. And Green Bay did. And that just allows a team just to completely beat themselves while the other team just has to not make mistakes. And the Panthers really didn't make a lot of mistakes. A couple more things I want to say about the coaching staff. Great clock management in this game of what I saw. And it's clear at this point there is a culture in Carolina, and these guys fight for Dave Canales. So, a couple more miscellaneous things. Of course, we got to talk about Bryce Young in this one. Only around 100 yards passing on 20 attempts. He only completed 11 of those. Of course, windy day, and he doesn't have the strongest arm. He also had a really bad interception. I still don't understand what happened. I can't tell if the wind got the hold of the ball, if it was just well, obviously it was a bad pass. And Xavier McKinnon can just fly around, but I still don't know if this ball is even okay, even if it's on target to Leggett. But he also didn't look 100% at times. He did scramble a decent bit in this game for some first downs, but he looked a little bit awkward, especially running to his left and having to plant. So hopefully we get to see a fully healthy Bryce Young next week against the Saints when they're back at home. And that should be in the middle of the original timetable that they gave for his recovery. But Bryce Young, this is his 9th career game-winning drive, which is just a ridiculous number in 3 years. He makes plays happen when he absolutely needs to, and I don't really feel like you want more out of your quarterback. If the offense is going to be run first, you need your quarterback to make plays when it's important, and Bryce Young certainly has that clutch gene. One more thing, then I'll wrap it up. T-Mac, yet again, is still improving. He did drop one in the end zone. Would have been an acrobatic catch, but he's making really good catches. He's still an absolute monster on timing routes, and got on routes where Bryce just knows where he's going to be and throws the ball way early with anticipation. So T-Mac still on pace. Would love to see him get to over 1,000 yards, maybe 1,100 this season. Got to get him in the end zone more, especially for my fantasy team. So that's all I really want to talk about for this one. Panthers go to Lambeau and pull off the upset in what is their biggest win probably of this decade. What a time to be alive. The Panthers fight for the second time to get over 500. This time to 5-4. They'll go back home to face division rival New Orleans at home in Charlotte in a game that I hopefully will be at. I want to thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed watching. Consider liking and subscribing, and give me some pointers on what I can improve with these types of videos. I'll see you in the next one. Keep pounding.